Have you ever met someone who, by the time you're done trying to deal with them, you end up wishing you just never answered the inquiry? Now, any of you guys who also sell cars, I'm sure you'll be familiar with this situation, but I've got a bit of a story for you today to do with possibly the craziest customer I've ever had to try and deal with. So to give you a little bit of backstory, one of my friends has just emigrated to Australia. Now, he had a car and his wife had a car here in the UK. And when they emigrated, they were aware that they were going to have to dispose of these cars. Their visa application happened a lot faster than they thought it was going to. So they had to get rid of the cars on the hurry up. So my friend asked me if I would be able to get rid of the cars for them. Obviously, having a background in car sales, he knew that I would be able to get the cars prepared, get an MOT on one of them, I think it was. Yeah, it was just one. Get them sorted, get them advertised and deal with the sale. Because it's basically what I do during the day anyway. No problem at all. Happy to help my friend out. So the first car, his wife had an Audi Q3. Now, I was actually quite lucky with that because my friend's brother, who hasn't emigrated, he's from the UK, he actually wanted to buy that car. So that was a relatively straightforward deal. At that point, I was basically just storing my friend's wife's Audi Q3 until my friend's brother bought it. They did the deal between themselves directly, being brothers. I didn't get involved in anything other than looking after the car, making sure it was cleaned, had one of my guys look at it, make sure everything was okay, and then just handing the keys over when the two guys had done their deal. This story today relates to the other car, my friend's own car, which is a Toyota RAV4. Now, it's actually a really, really nice car. It's an older RAV4, it's 2009, but it's only done 58,000 miles, I think. My friend, really proper sort of chap, he looks after his stuff, and this car was basically used to commute to he works in a hospital, and he was just commuting to and fro a hospital with it, so it never did any sort of off-road work or anything like that. And the car has been kept really, really nice. As I say, 58,000 miles, 58,400 miles, something like that. Full Toyota service history, all original book pack, 3 original Toyota keys, just a really nice car. Now, I'm handling the sale of this car for him. And as such, I've got it advertised in various places. One of those places is Facebook Marketplace. Now, Facebook Marketplace, that can be a real pit, and we all know it. Sometimes I do find buyers on there, and they're good people. In fact, I've met a lot of good people selling cars. So this situation I'm going to tell you about today is kind of a bit of a freak incident, but it's so strange. I do need to put it out there and basically get your feedback on it. So, advertised the car on Facebook, had a few messages on the car, but someone who wanted to come and see it who wasn't that far away. I won't use his real name. I'm going to call him, for the sake of this video, David. So, this chap called David wants to come and have a look at the RAV4. Of course, I accept any viewings because it's my friend's car and I want to get it sold for him, and naturally I want to do the best I can for him on the price. Now, I've got the car advertised at £6,000 at this point. I actually know my friend will take 5.5 for it, but of course, you try and help your friends out. I'm trying to do the best I can for him, so it's advertised at the 6K. So along comes this David chap who was supposed to come at 10 AM on a Sunday morning. Now, I don't know how you guys who are in the trade feel about this, but the older I get, the less I like working Sundays. You know, I've got a family, I've got things to do, but when I'm desperate to sell a car, or like in this case, I'm trying to help a friend out, I'll do it, not a problem. So I agreed to this 10 AM viewing on a Sunday. One thing I really can't stand, again, as I get older, is people turn up late to a pre-booked appointment on a car. I'm in a locked yard, it's invite only, so you can't just walk in off the street here. So appointment times are important to me. So 10 AM, David turns up late, not massively late, I think he was 10 or 15 minutes late, to be honest, which is in the way of the world, especially with a Facebook viewing, really not that bad, actually. So he turns up late, so not coming off to the best start here, but whatever. Introduce myself, say hello. Obviously, he knows the situation with the car. He knows it's being sold privately by my friend, but I'm handling the sale because my friend is in Australia, thousands of miles away. He's aware of all of this before the viewing. He's also aware of what the car looks like, all the history, etc., because I put all the pictures and description online, been through it all. So introduce myself, say hello, show him around the car briefly. It hasn't been started yet, it's a completely cold start. Being a diesel, I always think that's important to show people a nice cold start and make sure it's not smoky. So show him around the car, 5 or 10 minutes looking around it, explaining what it is and how long my friend's had it, etc, etc. He wants me to start the engine, so I fire it up for him with the bonnet open. Clearly no smoke, no weird noises. It's genuinely a really lovely car. So that's all good. Spend about another 5 or 10 minutes sort of chewing the fat and showing him the car. I then say to him, you know, do you want to go for a test drive? Now, this is where things get a little bit strange, and in hindsight, where I should have probably realised, you're not quite right here, and just ended the deal. But so I asked him if he wanted to go for a drive. His response to me was, I won't try and do an impression of him because I'll do it wrong, and it probably will come off as me taking the mickey, and I don't want to. But one of these people with, I don't know if he was putting it on or not, but a very posh accent, voice. I've met a few people in my time who put this accent on because they kind of think it gives them a foot up. They're kind of better than you. I don't know why, but anyway, maybe it was a real accent, maybe it wasn't. But in his own way, in his own voice, he tells me that, slow down, no, I need to inspect the car first and then we'll see if it's good enough to go for a test drive. And I thought, okay, fair enough. Maybe he knows these cars and he really wants to get to grips with it. At the end of the day, this is a 17-year-old Japanese car. For all he knows, it could be rusty underneath or anything. So I thought, okay, no problem. I said to him, in that case, I will leave you to it. I don't want to get in your face. I don't want to try and sell it to you. I just want you to discover the car for yourself. So I thought I'll go inside and get a coffee. So anyway, I went inside and get a coffee. I leave him looking at the RAV4. He is a little bit more than an hour later, still crawling under it, over it, inside it, lifting carpets, everything you could possibly do. And we're over an hour at this point. Now, I'll remind you, this viewing was meant to start at 10 in the morning, and I've got plans in the afternoon because normally a morning viewing won't leach into the afternoon too far. So I've got plans with my family in the afternoon. So over an hour has gone by and he's inspecting his car. So I then go back out to him and I say, you know, how are you getting on? Are you finding anything? Are you enjoying the car? Do you want to go for a test drive? And he says, well, I haven't finished my inspection, but as you're here, I'll show you a few things I've discovered. And he says to me, you do know this car has been in an accident, don't you? And now, my friend has owned this car for a while, and he has never been in an accident with it. He's a very careful driver. I've looked over this car for him, and it is straight as a die. There's nothing wrong with this car. So I said, to my knowledge, this hasn't ever been in an accident, but why do you think it has? And so he did something else which annoyed me, and I'm sure it'll annoy you guys too. Went like this, beckons me over. I mean, it's all about respect, isn't it? Not just in the car sales game, but in life in general. So if you're beckoning someone, I think that's a little bit... Anyway, so that's red flag number 2. I'm thinking, yeah, you're not really my sort of person here. Anyway, so I am interested in what he's got to say because I'm thinking maybe he's an expert, maybe he's a real expert on something, because I don't know his history. You know, he could be a Toyota living master technician for all I know. So he says, yes, you see on the right-hand side, the windows on the right-hand side of the car, they're actually windows from the left-hand side of a car, and they've been swapped. So you've got the left side windows, and then someone's got another set of left side windows and fitted them to the right of the car because it's been in a big accident. And I thought, my initial thought was, is he joking? Because this is obviously not sensible, sane talking here. So I said, I don't think so. Let me just show you something, if I may. And I explained that the side windows on a modern car, they're not straight, are they? They're convex. They've got a bow to them. So I opened the driver's door and showed him the end profile of the door and said, do you see that convex shape? That means the windows are sided. They're right-hand side or the left-hand side. You can't switch them left for right. So he didn't want to admit that I was wrong. So he sort of chewed that over in his mind for, well, it felt like ages, but it was probably like 10 seconds. And then kind of just sort of looked at me and said, yeah, like that. And sort of walked off around the rest of the car. And I thought, well, this is a little bit odd. So again, things are not stacking up at this point. So after the observation about the windows, I don't know if he beckoned me this time or not, but he brought me over to the driver's door. And he said, there should be a little button on the door handle if this was top spec. This car is obviously not a top spec car because it doesn't have the button. Now, what the button he's referring to, I think, is a keyless entry button. So if you've got the key somewhere on your person, if you press that little button, it'll either lock or unlock the car. Now, I don't know if a 2009 RAV4 would have had that even if it was top spec. It wasn't advertised as a top spec car. It wasn't advertised as having keyless entry. So for him to point out that it doesn't have that was kind of neither here nor there, but I said to him, okay, I can see that your observation is correct. It doesn't have a keyless entry button, but I don't believe this is a top spec car, so that's why it wouldn't have one, even if a 2009 RAV4 would have. So that was the only two things he could really mention on the outside, both completely incorrect in my opinion. He did try and tell me that the car had orange peel on one door, and I explained to him that, you know, in a former life I have had quite a lot to do with smart repairs of car bodywork, so I know how to identify paint that's been redone, smart repaired, patched, or even completely blown in. And no, there isn't orange peel on this car. In fact, for a Toyota of the age, it's really, really nice. Like, the paint is absolutely fine. And also I let him know that silver paint is incredibly hard to match. So if someone's just painted just a door or just a quarter, for it to be an exact match to the next panel along, it would either be incredible luck or the best repair anyone's ever seen. And this car has got a couple of little dings on the bumpers which were advertised and explained, and so he didn't flag those because they were in the advert to start with. So as I said to him, you know, if someone's repainted any of it, you would tell it's silver, it's very hard to get right. So again, he sort of murmured along and said, oh, I suppose you're right. So I don't know if he's just trying to pick fault here. I'm used to people doing it. They try and make a list of things which may or may not exist, and then they kind of hit you with a derisory offer at the end of the inspection. But I didn't want to jump the gun and assume. So after this, I said, well, are you ready to go for a test drive? Because, you know, it's my friend's car, but I've been in it loads of times. It drives absolutely wonderfully. The car is genuinely faultless. It's a beautiful thing. He said, no, of course I don't. I haven't had a chance to have a look at the service history yet. Now, it's a full Toyota service history car with all the original book packs, everything in order and kept exactly as it should be. I mean, if it wasn't for the registration plate, you wouldn't know it was a 17-year-old car. It's all there and it's all kept so well. And I thought, well, that's not unfair, you know, it's advertised as a full Toyota history car, so he probably wants to go through and make sure it is, there's no spurious garages in there, or worse, like services missing or anything. So I said, I'll tell you, I'll leave you to go through it and I'll nip back inside. I'm thinking, you know, how long does it take to thumb through the service history, even on a full service history car? What, 10 minutes? No, almost an hour goes by again. So I go back out to him and he's still going through it. And I sort of said, you know, are you happy with the history? Obviously, you can't fault the history. It's all genuine. All the history is related to that number plate on that car. All the mileage stacks up, of course, because it's a genuine history car. But he does want to make a point of telling me that the Toyota dealer who has been servicing the car, in fact, I think it might even be who originally supplied the car, but the Toyota dealer who's been servicing the car, on all their invoices, they have the logos, other marks of different manufacturers of vehicles, as if that's some sort of bad thing. And I had to explain to him that it's, you know, it's a multi-franchise dealer. They don't just do Toyota, they probably do a handful of different cars. So just because it's got these different logos on their headed paper, on their invoices, it doesn't mean anything. And I think he already knew that. I think he was just trying to put another little injection of negativity into the deal. Now again, time is marching on, and I've got plans in the afternoon. So I said to him at that point, okay, so you've had a look at the service history. Do you want to take the car for a drive? And he agrees, he does want to. So clearly the car is good enough for him at this stage. So we hop in the car. Clearly I'm going to let him drive because there's why wouldn't I? So I get in the passenger seat, he's in the driver's seat. Get out of my yard. We're driving along, and it's pretty much what I expected a test drive with someone like this to be like, pretty slow, quite cautious, but that isn't really a problem. I don't mind that because I'm assuming he's kind of being cautious because it's not his car, and that's fair enough. Driving along, he didn't really say anything about the driving experience of the car, but then I'm thinking it's, you know, it's a RAV4. It's not designed to set your world on fire. It's not going to make you question your life choices or anything. It kind of, to coin a modern phrase, it is what it is. It's all there and it drives lovely, no issues. So just general sort of chit chat about just minutiae, really. What do you talk to people about on these test drives? Again, you guys in the trade, you'll know what it's like. About 5 minutes in, he then says to me, the rev gauge, the rev counter's not working. And I had to point out to him that we were in 6th gear, going down a hill in a national speed limit. So the car isn't going to be pulling huge revs. It's basically a tick over, isn't it? We're doing like 45 in a 60, going down a gradual hill in 6th gear. So I said, look, it does work. We're going down a hill. If you've got any doubts, put your foot on the clutch, blip the throttle, which he did. And of course, rev gauge works absolutely fine. So I said, oh, I sort of made a bit of a light-hearted joke. I did tell you it worked, and I'll be very surprised if it didn't on a low mileage Toyota. Oh, well, I thought it wasn't working. And I'm thinking, you're just trying to pick faults that don't exist. So anyway, carry on with the test drive. It's probably 20, 25 minute test drive. Can't fault it, drives lovely, no problem at all. Get back to my yard. He then says he wants to check everything else. And I said, okay, well, what do you want to check? I want to check all the bulbs work. So he asked me to get in the driver's seat, no problem. I operate every light switch, so indicators, low beams, high beams, brake lights, fog lights, even the beam adjustment on the headlights he wanted to check. Washers, horn, everything. Then he wants to come inside. Bear in mind, everything works exactly as it should, so nothing to complain about. He then comes into the car, checks the air conditioning works, absolutely fair enough, you know, summer's coming, thankfully. Air conditioning works fine, checks the radio, that works, fiddles around with different stations, everything works. There is nothing that doesn't work in this car, so it's all absolutely fine. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to try and push the deal here, because he may or may not want it at this stage, despite taking like, what now, nearly 3 hours of my time. Once again, I've got plans, but I'm thinking, well, that's not really his problem. So I didn't say anything. I just sort of said, well, is there anything else you want to see? He said, well, I've just got to have one last inspection. And I thought, well, what could you possibly want to look at now that you haven't looked at in the time already? But I'm very, very keen not to be impolite. And I'm also keen not to scupper the sale of this car for my friend who's already left for Australia. He's gone. This car is sitting there surplus and he's got a hole in his bank account. So I'm like thinking, oh, just bite your tongue, John, just bite your tongue. So I let him do his final inspection, thinking, well, it can't be more than 5 or 10 minutes, surely. I've left all the paperwork with him, he's got all the keys. Because we're in a locked yard, I'm not worried about him driving off or anything. So, no, half an hour later, he's still looking around the car. So I go out and I say, yeah, is everything all right? Are you happy with it? Because it is getting to the point where it's taking the mick now. I didn't say that to him, of course. And he hasn't found anything else that he hasn't already looked at, but he did again beckon me over to show me that one of the wiper blades had become detached. You know, sometimes they delaminate. Now, I didn't know that, and I said to him, I'm sorry, I didn't know that because it's not my car. Now, he knows I'm sort of in the motor trade, but he knows the situation that this is a friend's car. And I said, look, if it's one of my cars, it would have just had an MOT before I advertised it, so nothing like this would have happened. I didn't know about this because it's my friend's car. It's just been dropped onto me to sell. So sorry about that. Anyway. Couldn't find anything else, so we start to talk about money, and I'm thinking, right, okay, this is the direction we want the deal to go. So I got this car advertised at £6,000, or a fiver shy, so 5,995. I actually know my friend will take 5.5k for it, and if I'd had more energy left at the end of all of that, I probably would have tried to box more for the money. But I said to this David, I said, well, it's advertised at £6,000, as you know. I'm not going to try and run you ragged and tell you, oh, you know, it could be yours for 5.9 or 5.8 and then have a to and fro. Because apart from anything else, I'd spent enough time with this guy. I didn't want to spend any more time with him. He was giving off an odd vibe the whole time, and I had plans. I just didn't want to be there. You guys will know what I mean. So I said, look, I know my friend will take 5.5, but he won't take any less for it than that. So if you're interested at 5.5, taking into account, you know, you found it's got a wiper blade needing doing. Again, a bit tongue in cheek, but you know, it's a wiper blade, you know, they're nothing. But he said, well, I wanted to offer less than that. And I said, well, with respect, David, it'll be a waste of everyone's time if you do, because I've got other people inquiring about this car right now at the £6,000. You've bothered to come and see it, you've had a good look around it, you've driven it. There's no point me trying to milk this. It's 5.5k or it's nothing at all. So he's basically saying he doesn't want to buy it unless it comes for 5.3. Now, my friend who owns the car is in Australia, so I can't exactly ring him and put it to him. That's why we had this kind of agreed price structure, so I'd have full autonomy on the deal. I know how low I can go and not a penny less. So I said to him, look, I've got other people wanting to see this car, so why don't you go away? I'll let them have their viewings, and if they don't want it, I'll have then had time to contact my friend and say, you know, would you take less than 5.5 for it? But he didn't want to leave. He's one of those people who just didn't want to leave the yard. He wouldn't go. So he said to me, well, how about this? I'll put a deposit on it, and then if it doesn't come for my money, I'll have my deposit back. And I said, look, it's a suggestion, but there's no point wasting your time sending me a deposit, because the plan was, obviously, I will take payment for the car and then send that to my friend, because if he sends the payment to my friend's account, I can't confirm receipt of that without speaking to him, and he's on the other side of the world, so it'd be very disjointed. So the payment was always going to come to me. So I said to him, well, don't waste your time, don't send the deposit across, because if you're not willing to pay 5.5k for it, my friend won't accept that, so I'll end up having to send you that deposit back, and it's just a lot of messing around. To which he sort of said, well, it doesn't take a minute to send the deposit back. I'm thinking, you've just got no respect for other people's time. Anyway, in the end, he agreed that the price would have to be 5.5, because I must have said it 5 or 6 times in this conversation. So he knew it was going to be a 5.5k car or nothing at all. So he made me write him a handwritten receipt for the deposit. No problem doing that, because of course he has to be able to show that he's paid someone something. So I wrote him out a standard deposit receipt, £200 non-refundable deposit, with my details on, my friend's name, etc., the car details, his details. Pretty standard stuff. He looked at it, started crossing stuff off, didn't want this, didn't want that. So he wanted it rewritten. He wanted it, the words written was, I can't remember exactly, but it was something along the lines of, you know, there's a non-refundable deposit, but to put £200 deposit unless he can see confirmation of ownership from my friend, and that the price would be no more than £5,500. And I thought, well, oh, and a clear HPI check, which obviously he's responsible for doing the HPI check. If he wanted to do it, he could. So I'm really sort of losing the will here, and I'm thinking, I've got better things to do with my life. I don't want this deal to go ahead anyway. So I thought I'll try and ring my friend. If I can get hold of him on the phone, he will be able to speak on loudspeaker to this guy and explain that, you know, it's his car I'm selling on his behalf. Because I even said to him, I'm starting to get the feeling you don't trust me. And he got really funny about that, got real chewy about that. Oh, it's not that I don't trust you. You've got to understand, you've got to do these things properly. He gets really defensive. And I said, all right, calm down. Let me just try and ring my friend. Clearly, I couldn't reach him on the phone because it's the middle of the night. And the guy's got kids, for God's sake. But I did text him as well. And he's obviously seen the text. He's in bed or whatever. The call's woken him up. He's seen the text. I said, look, mate, you need to get out of bed. Make me a receipt that says your full details, including your UK address. Because he still owns his house in the UK, but he's got it rented out. So put your UK address, because that's where the V5 for this car is. Send across a letter with your signature on it, with a PDF, you know, explaining that you're away. You're giving me permission to sell your car for you. And in fairness to my friend, he did it straight away. Got out of bed, did it, sent it over by email. I then forwarded that email to this David on the spot there and then, so he's seen it. But in the meantime, he's had the V5 to look at and stuff. He started doing his HPI check. And I'm thinking, well, fair enough. He's doing an HPI check. He's obviously serious about the car. I've just got to just swallow it, just get this deal done, whatever. He's done the HPI check. My friend has told him the situation with it being his car. He's in Australia. He's happy with all of that. I've also texted my friend and said, look, it's going to be 5.5k, not 6. I'm sorry, it's just the way it's going to be. So he said, oh, that's fine, whatever. Just sell it for 5.5 as agreed. So after all that, he's paid this £200 deposit to me on the basis that it's non-refundable unless, of course, the car doesn't pass an HPI check, or, you know, I couldn't prove my friend owned the car, whatever. But all that's been done. So that's kind of the end of the first chapter, and this, believe me guys, this goes deeper. It sounds mental, but it goes deeper. So I say, this is on a Sunday, so I say, you know, when do you want to come back, pay the balance and collect the car? And he said, well, I've paid for it now, so I want to come and get it as soon as possible. And I'm thinking, you haven't paid for it, you've paid a £200 deposit, but whatever. So I said, well, I can be quite flexible in the week, just message me, let me know. So I've given him my direct phone number, so he can get me anytime. So it's not just through a Facebook Messenger thing. He can contact me. He knows I'm a real person, all that stuff. And we left it that he would go away and get someone to give him a lift back so he could collect the car, probably within the next day or so, is what was said. Pretty standard, no worries. So I said, thanks for coming, all that. I'm thinking, yes, I can finally get on with my day. So open the electric gates for him, ready to leave, and he then gets out of his car. And he says, oh, I just want to check the mileage before I go. Bear in mind, this thing's parked in the middle of my yard. He gets in the car. I think the exact mileage is like 58,486 or something, like a real staggered figure. He takes a picture of the odometer, so he's got the mileage. He then gets back out of the car and says, right, I've got the exact mileage, so don't drive it before I get back. And I said, well, ideally I'd like to move it out in the middle of the yard, but if you don't want it driven, fine, I can work around it. I mean, it's on the edge of the yard, so it's kind of not the end of the world, but I'm thinking it's a bit rude anyway, but whatever. Okay, fine. It's only gonna be a day or so. It won't go anywhere, is what I said. It won't be moved. He then proceeds to carry on with his phone. He takes probably 15 to 20 pictures of the outside of this car from all angles. I'm assuming so that if he comes back and there's a scratch on it that wasn't there before, or a dent or a bird poo or anything, he'll then think he's got some sort of leverage to get more money off. Clearly it's not going to work, but these people, I don't know where they come from, what rock they crawl out from under, but these people have got tactics like that. So again, I just let him get on with it. So that takes another 5 or 10 minutes. He finally leaves. I'm thinking, right, I can get on with my day now. Great, you know, I'll deal with the rest of the insanity in the week when he comes back to collect the car. So we move on into the week. Haven't heard from him. I think he messages me on Wednesday eventually saying he's got a friend who'll come with him to get it on Saturday morning at 10 to 10:30 in the morning. Now, again, you know, it's the weekend, but it's a Saturday, so I'm thinking, okay, it's a collection. Even with someone like this, a collection isn't going to take all day. And it's, you know, pay the money, make sure it's in. I'll do the V5 transfer online so it's instant, and I'll have the invoice ready to go so you can just sign it, take the keys and be on your way. It shouldn't take that long, right? Huh, what a joke. But I agree to that, 10 to 10:30 Saturday morning. The week continues, everything else. Now, this is in the run up to the Easter bank holiday. So Friday is a bank holiday and also Monday is a bank holiday. So Friday bank holiday, he calls me at 5:45 in the evening on Friday. Bear in mind it's been a bank holiday. And he says, again, I'm not gonna try and do the voice, but in his posh, I believe, put on fake voice. Oh yeah, me and my friend will be there at 12, maybe 12:30 tomorrow. And I said, David, it's just not going to work. Look, you said it's going to be 10 or 10:30. I've got plans tomorrow. I mean, he doesn't know if it's work related or personal, but it shouldn't really matter to him. I've got plans, and you've just pushed me back 2 hours without asking if that's okay. You've just said it's going to be that time. And I said, as it happens, I can move my afternoon around for you, as long as you're not here for ages. I mean, it's only a handover, so it shouldn't take more than about half an hour. He then says to me, I'm very suspicious of you. You're trying to rush me. So I'm not trying to rush you, but you've just taken an extra 2 hours out of my day without asking permission. You've just assumed it's okay. Again, these people with these fake, well, I'm going to say fake accent. That's probably not true. I don't know. With accents like this, let's say, I think they just think everyone else has to dance to their beat and, like, you know, we're all common scum or something. So why would he ask permission? It's just a fact. I'm coming at this time, I'm coming at that time, you will fit in with me. But again, I'm doing my best for everyone here. I'm trying to sell my friend's car and do the best I can for him. And I'm trying my best to be a good guy to this guy who's buying the car, even though at this point he's trampled all over my last nerve. So I said, okay, fine, look. I was actually meant to be going out with my wife and my new baby, but I said, okay, well, look, I'll move my afternoon around to accommodate that, whatever. He then, this is over the phone, not by text message, it's on a telephone call. He says, oh, and about that wiper blade, have you changed those wiper blades yet? And I said, what do you mean wiper blades? I'd forgotten that one of the wiper blades had delaminated. It's such a silly thing. He said, I showed you one of the wiper blades was broken. I said, oh, yeah, true you did, but you didn't ask me to change it, did you? To which he says, well, I would have thought it's common sense. It's an MOT failure. You should change the wiper blade. And I said, well, if you'd have asked me at the time to do the wiper blade before you collect it, I probably wouldn't have minded. I'd have just said, yeah, okay, fine, and just charge my friend for the wiper blades, you know? It's not an issue, but you've phoned me at 5:45 on a bank holiday, the day before you're meant to collect it, after pushing me back 2 hours, and demanding that I change it, or saying that I should have changed it because it's common sense, therefore I have no common sense because I haven't changed the wiper blades. I said, David, the car was advertised at £6,000. You couldn't fault it. The only thing you could find is a wiper blade that wasn't quite right. And then you had £500 off. I didn't try and run you across the rocks. I gave you all the money off I could straight away. It's fair to assume that someone buying a car on a £500 discount would think, oh, I don't mind chucking a set of wiper blades on it. He would not have it. Absolutely got irate down the phone and then said, well, I'm going to pull out of the deal in that case. And I said, that's probably for the best, because I've had enough of this guy, and I'm probably coming across really grouchy to you guys, but hopefully if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know what I'm like, you know the sort of person I am. I try and treat everyone fairly, but sometimes some people just cannot be helped, and when they're this rude to just compact it all, you just think, what's the point? So I said, yeah, okay, drop out the deal, no problem. And I think I called his bluff a bit, because he kind of said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll have to get the wiper blades sorted myself, but I'm going to be an hour late then coming tomorrow. And I just thought, you've seen a soft spot that I'm trying to maintain some of my Saturday to spend with my family, and you're exploiting it. So I just said, look, I'll tell you what, don't worry about it. I'll do the wiper blades for you, because the Saturday following isn't actually a bank holiday. It was like, you know, the motor factors will be open in the morning. So I was like, if he's now pushing back till midday, I'll just go and get the blades in the morning and fit them. So I said, look, I'll do the wiper blades, but please do not be late tomorrow. 12 to 12:30 is the agreed time the following day. Right, so next day, after being told that he doesn't trust me, he's suspicious of me, talking down to me, beckoning me, just a horrible person, I'm thinking. But I'm thinking the deal is nearly across the line, just suck it up, get it done, whatever. Saturday morning, right, so busy myself at the yard in the morning, doing some other jobs. Midday comes, he phones me, he's outside the gate. So fair play, he came at 12 o'clock at least, he didn't run late again, so that was good. And I said, right, okay, good morning, good to see you, all this stuff. And I said, well, you know, I've got plans this afternoon, so hopefully this won't take all that long. I know you don't want to be rushed, so just to run you through how this is going to work, I'll do the V5 transfer online, as long as you're happy with that, which means you'll get it that much quicker. He said he was happy with that. I said, all we've got to do is just transfer the funds, I'll confirm they're in, I'll show you receipt, and I'll obviously give you a printed receipt, which, by the way, I'd spoken to my friend about in the meantime, and told him how car sales work, trade versus private, things that need to be in the receipt. Pretty standard stuff. I mean, you can go on, I think, like the RAC website if you've never sold a car before as a private person, and they can give you a template, which I think is what my friend probably used, which kind of says the terms of the sale. And then you just put in the details of your car, the date, the parties involved. So he said, oh yeah, but I've got a few checks to do first. This is David speaking here. I've got a few checks to do first. And I thought, oh, here we go. Then he pulls out a sheet of A4 paper. In fact, it might have been two stapled together for all I know, but I'm just in despair with it at this point. And I can see it's printed at the top. Collection checklist, including like the registration number hasn't been changed, and he's ticking them off as he goes. And I just thought, I just can't be bothered, so I'm just going to let him get on with it. So the collection checklist, how long does that take? About half an hour, to be honest. He's going through it for half an hour, and you know, you don't know whether to laugh or cry when it's like this. So I've let him do his collection checklist. Gone back out about half an hour later, because I did see him walking towards, you know, the glass. So I thought, okay, he's done with that. So it was about half an hour. I went out and I said, everything all right? Nothing's changed? And I made a joke and I said, oh, it hasn't moved an inch. You can check the miles if you want. Oh, I've already checked them. So clearly the guy doesn't trust me. He's just like a rude person anyway. So I said, right, okay, so all we've got to do now is transfer the funds. I'll confirm receipt verbally, and then I'll give you a proper receipt. And of course, we'll do the V5 transfer, but it shouldn't take very long. And I said, I think at the moment, DVLA are running on about a 2-week schedule, you know. So he says he wants me to transfer the V5 into his name first before he'll pay anything. And I said, well, that's not how it works. Obviously, I'm sure you understand, I can't transfer ownership of a car you haven't paid for. I even said, I'm sure you'll understand that, because you want things done properly with the deposit receipt, so you can understand me wanting to do things properly with the sale of the car. He actually agreed. He said, okay, well, that's fair enough. But I want to see the invoice, and it's all printed, because like my friend from Australia, he's sort of done the sales invoice on Word with his signature, which is like dragged and dropped on there. So all I've got to do is put my details, put the date, put this guy's details on there, and it's good to go. Now, I will put on screen the actual receipt so you guys can see what I was working with. It's all standard terms for a private sale, but I'll read it to you now anyway. And then we'll go on to the next chapter of what's happened and how this is all blown up. So this is a standard private sales receipt from my friend who owns the car, but it's had a line added to say that I am selling it on his behalf. Obviously, I've blurred people's names out and details and stuff because GDPR. Just for the sake of this video, obviously the receipt didn't have that. So I've got receipt of sale. The date was left blank. I would handwrite the date in. the vehicle, which is a Toyota RAV4 with the registration number. The total sale price is £5,500. The wording is, car sold privately by me, John, on behalf of myself, the vehicle owner, my friend's name, of my friend's address in England, which corresponds to the V5, and it's what my friend has also confirmed to David beforehand. Car sold as seen, inspected, test driven and HPI checked with no warranty implied or given. Standard terms, I'm sure you'll agree. Anyone with any common sense knows that's the case. The car was sold as seen, it was inspected at great length, it was test driven, he did an HPI check, and of course there's no warranty implied or given on a private sale. There just isn't. Sold on behalf of my friend's signature here, because that's what this is all about, him importing his signature into this receipt, and it was sold by me to the purchaser and his details there. So pretty standard stuff, I'm sure you'll agree. Well, this guy, David, wow, he wasn't happy about this. Now, bear in mind, haven't transferred the V5 to him. He hasn't paid anything more than his deposit at this stage. He really went off. I refused to sign this because there's 2 copies of this receipt, right? He was going to sign 2, one for me to photocopy and send across to my friend and then keep it on file, and one for him to take with him with the car to prove he's purchased it. So he's got a copy, I've got a copy. Gets his pen out. Typically, he's got a pen in his hand already. You just know the sort. Starts crossing out bits and pieces, crossing out the bit that says sold as seen, you know, test driven and all this. And then he's saying he wants that removed. He wants my friend, again, this would have been the middle of the night for my friend by the time he's collecting his car in the UK. He wants my friend to remake this invoice and send it across by email immediately because he wants the reference to the fact the car is sold as seen and inspected completely removed. He wants my details added on there, my address, and I said, I've got no problem, I'll write my address on there for you if you want. I'll do it right now in front of you. You can see my driving licence, you know my address, but whatever. And he also wanted the word privately taken out, so car sold privately. So in essence, what he wanted, again, one of these people who thinks he's cleverer than everyone else, for whatever reason. I mean, my suspicion is he's probably not cleverer than anyone he's ever met, but he thought he was cleverer than everyone else. He was assuming that my friend would do all these amendments and so give him a receipt for this car, which basically means if anything goes wrong with this car in the future, you've got full rights to come back and have your money back or have stuff repaired. And I explained to him, you know, if you don't sign this receipt, which is my friend's receipt, I'm afraid I can't sell you the car because this is the terms of the deal. And he was basically saying, like, you can't ask me to sign anything for this car, I'm not signing anything. And I said, okay, I'm not going to force you to sign anything, I can't make you do anything, but what I can say is if you won't sign a receipt to say you've bought this car, I can't sell it to you, I just can't. And I even said to him, I think what you're trying to do here is trick my friend into giving you a receipt for a car so that if in 6 months' time the gearbox goes or anything like that, you're going to have some sort of legal recourse to get him to fix it or repair it, replace it, whatever. And it's just not going to happen. I even said to him, look, as someone who sells cars, let me tell you how it works. If I was selling you this car and it was one of mine, if it was stock, you'd get a statutory rights warranty. That's the law. Like, no one can take that away from you. And in my case, I'd also offer you a supplementary warranty as well. It would cost money, or I would cover it if there was enough in the deal. But this is a private sale. You don't get any of that. And he's really kicking off at this stage, saying, you don't need to include sold as seen because it's implied in law, so it doesn't need saying. And I said to him, look, you think you're clever trying to sell this stuff, because I'm going to sound really impolite, but like I had a gutful of the guy at this point. I said, you think you're really clever trying to trick my friend who's, like most people, not used to buying and selling cars. You know, he's not part of this business. He buys a car, drives it for years, and you know, either part exchange it with a dealer or whatever. So people like this, I believe this David, people like that go and they prey on people who don't know better, who, imagine I was like a 60-year-old woman selling a car privately. I mean, this guy was like 6.5, 7 foot tall. He was some sort of, I don't know what rock he came out from under, but that's how tall he was. If I'd have been some 60-year-old woman selling a car privately, he probably could have leaned on me and made me give him his receipt without any of this protection for myself. So he would have had the car and had full comeback. So again, middle of the night for my friend in Australia, I said, look, all I can do is ring him up, put him on speakerphone, explain the situation, and you can hear it from him yourself. He's not going to change this invoice. The car is not for sale if you won't sign a receipt. And I rang my friend once, didn't answer, so I texted him and said, look, this is basically the situation. He's obviously seen it in bed, then realised he had to deal with it, so he's got out, and I phoned him back, and he answered, and I put him on loudspeaker in front of this David, and I said, look, I've got David here looking at the car. He should be paying the balance and collecting it today, but he's not happy about the terms on the receipt. And so my friend said, look, I mean, You deal with this stuff every day. What's your advice? And at this point, I've run out of social grace. So I'm in front of this David bloke, and I've got my friend on the phone, and I said, mate, my advice to you as someone who sells cars would be this. If he won't sign this proper receipt for the car, don't sell it to him, because you're going to be liable for stuff. And I've sold cars to people in the past, and I know exactly what this sort of person is like. Now, in my case, I can't escape it. If they buy a car from me and then something goes wrong with it, I have to put it right or give them a refund. That's just the law. And so I don't mind sticking to it. But you're selling your own car. It's a private sale. You've had this car for ages. Don't be tricked into it. So he said, well, okay, I'll take your advice. I'm just not going to do it then. So I said, yeah, you know, I've got other people inquiring about the car still. And that's true. I have other people emailing me about it still. I said, don't worry about that. You're not going to lose a sale. I'll sell it for you regardless. But if, you know, it's just not going to be to this guy today. So then he comes up with, this is David speaking now, he comes up with the idea that he'll get a professional inspection, RAC or AA or Green Flag or anyone, to come and inspect the car independently at his expense, and then we can revisit the sale with the invoice receipt that way. But honestly, the guy has just been such a nightmare at this point. I said, my friend's still on speakerphone, I said to this David bloke, I said, look, I'm just not willing to give you any more of my time. At this point, over the whole course of the deal and 2 days it's taken, I said, you've taken nearly a day and a half of my time one way and another. I'm just not willing to give you any more. So if you get someone to come and inspect it, it's going to be half a day or a day of my time dealing with them, showing them the car. Then you're going to come back and you're bound to pick faults with something anyway. I said, my friends told you, you're not buying this car, so you can't have it. So over the course of that conversation, I mean, this went on for like nearly an hour. I asked him to leave 3 or 4 times because he's in a private property at this point. He's in a private compound. I said, you need to leave. If you're not buying a car, you need to go. He wouldn't leave. He just would not be swayed. He would not go. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he's just trying to hold on to the deal. So I can't really be too harsh on him for that. I mean, it is a genuinely lovely car, and I think he's probably looked at loads and not found one as good as this. So he probably does want to keep the deal in bed, but whatever. So after I finished speaking to my friend on the phone and hang up, I said to him, look, you've heard from the horse's mouth, you're not going to buy this car because you're not willing to sign a sales receipt. But then he said, well, I will if I can have an inspection. And I said, and then it comes down to me, doesn't it? And I'm not willing to give you any more of my time. So please leave. To which he finally did leave. So at this point, I've still got his £200 deposit. And this is Saturday. The following Sunday is Easter Sunday. Then we've got the bank holiday Monday. So he finally leaves, and I'm thinking to myself, how do I move forward from this situation? Because he on leaving, he actually said to me that he's going to be in touch with when this inspection is going to happen. And I said to him, it's not. You're not welcome to bring someone here to inspect the car. I don't want to deal with it anymore. So I'm thinking, is he going to contact me with a request for a professional inspection? And so I'm mulling it over in my mind thinking, okay, should I just like put up with it and like let him have his inspection? But I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to, because he's wasted so much of my time. And if he'd been an all right guy, I actually would have let him have his inspection because the car would fly through it. It's a lovely car. They couldn't fault it. I thought, well, if he was a normal person, I would, but he's been so rude throughout this entire process. He's been impolite from the start. He's been calling the shots and dictating and beckoning me around, and I just thought, I'm just not going to do it. So I'm just going to send his deposit back and let him know I've done so and say, please do not get back in touch. This is on the Saturday evening. So I'm thinking, right, well, I'll deal with that. And so Sunday, I had, again, it's the bank holiday weekend. I had plans. It sounds like I've always got plans of always doing stuff. I do work most of the time, but on bank holidays, I'm trying to, bank holiday weekend at least, trying to make the most of my time with my family. So I thought, well, I'll get 5 minutes and I'll just fling that deposit back to him and send him a message. I'm not going to ring him. He sends me an email, because he's got my email address as well as my contact number, as well as my address, as well as I'm not hiding anyway. He's got all my details. He sends me the snottiest email. I'm not going to read it verbatim here, but let's see if I can find it on my computer. The salient points of this, he's included some attachments here. So he has got a scan of the handwritten deposit receipt for £200. He's got a screenshot of his bank showing that he's transferred me £200 deposit on that registration number. And what else do we have here? Oh, and he's got the sales receipt that he should have signed, but he's spent his time crossing off a handwriting, bits to be deleted here, removed here, all that sort of stuff. I mean, the guy is a few sandwiches short of a picnic, I'm sure of it. But anyway, he's outlined the situation, everything about the car, the registration number. I attended on this date and that date, and I looked at the car. It doesn't say anything about I took like a day and a half, 2 days of your time messing around one way and another, which, by the way, if you've ever been involved in any kind of a dispute in small claims court, they take into account people's time. So we'll just put that to one side for a moment. He then goes on to say that as a motor trader, I cannot exclude statutory rights under the Consumer Rights Act 2015. And he's quite right, I can't. But I'm not selling this car as a motor trader. I'm selling this as a private individual who's friends with another private individual who happens to own the car. I've proved they own the car. He's spoken to him on the phone, explained he's in Australia. I'm essentially just storing the car and demonstrating it at this point. So I'm not acting as a motor trader at all. So he's run completely down the wrong road there. He's then reiterated the fact that he offered to get an inspection done so that we could move forward with the deal, and I told him to leave. And I actually did tell him to leave because I just don't want to be dealing with people like that ever. But, you know, you can't always help it. So he's right, I did. But he then goes on to threaten me by saying, if I don't return the deposit by 5 o'clock on Tuesday the 7th, which is today, the day I'm filming this, to the following bank details with this specific reference, if it's not received by 5 o'clock on this day, today, he's going to report the matter to trading standards, he's going to report me for fraud, he's going to report me to HMRC, etc., and commence legal proceedings against me. Now, oh, and he did sign it, yours sincerely, David. Now, as I said just then, I had planned to send that deposit back anyway, because it's the only way to get a clean break from these absolute lunatics sometimes, is to completely sever any connection they've got to you. And to me, a £200 deposit, I'm not exactly going to retire to the Bahamas on it, am I? So I planned to send it back anyway, but the fact he sent that email, I just thought, well, you can wait till Tuesday for that now. But what, like, why threaten me with stuff? Like, it's clearly the deal went sour because of the way he behaved. And if I had have not responded to him or done the refund and it went to small claims, if it even would for £200, but for God's sake, £200, I'm pretty confident that they would rule that, you know, a day and a half, 2 days of my time, I had to remove the car from sale, so that kind of scuppered the sale of the car for my friend, and he's all the money out of pocket on that car while he's abroad. He probably needs that to buy another car in Australia. This guy's just basically made it awkward for everyone. But anyway, I've sent the deposit back now. I did that first thing this morning. It is Tuesday and it's a working day, so I've done it today. So I am a fair few hours ahead of this threatening deadline. Ooh. I would have refunded this deposit anyway, because you guys who watch the channel, I like to think you kind of know what sort of person I am. You've seen how I deal with cars before I sell them. You've seen how I deal with the odd car that people have complained about. And I always try my best to be fair to everyone, because basically my outlook on life is that you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. There's no point garnering bad feeling by screwing people over or even doing things to be awkward. Like, just keeping a £200 deposit would be churlish. I don't need the money, and clearly he's wanting to make a mountain out of a molehill over it, so I was always going to refund it. But the fact he saw fit to send a threatening message to me, it's just on another level. So this is where we are right now. As I sit here telling you this story, the deal is completely dead in the water, obviously. Deposit has been returned to this guy. He's a very, very strange fish. He's taken pictures of the V5 and all sorts. So, like, I mean, I'm not particularly worried about that, because I've been doing this for years and I've met all sorts of people who do all sorts of things when they're buying a car. So he's just a very, very strange person, but, you know, he's also a very rude person. So the deal is dead in the water. My friend has still owns this car. It's still sat in my yard taking up space. I haven't re-advertised it yet because I just wanted all this to be out of my hair, but I will re-advertise it. Really, I wanted to do something a bit different by bringing you guys this video, because I don't often get a lot of grief, but a couple of things. I mean, if you guys are in my situation, so this is a question, I want to sort of see what the response is from my audience. Would you, if your friend asked you to dispose of their cars for them after they emigrate, and you're in, you know, the car trade, you know about these things, you're used to dealing with people and you're not worried about it, as sadly some people are, Would you have done what I did? Would you have helped your friend get rid of his cars? I mean, obviously, the massive irony with this is I'm getting all this grief and all these grey hairs from dealing with someone like David, and it's a completely non-earning deal for me anyway. If it was a car I was selling on my own, stock car, I would, you know, have profit in it, hopefully. I'd actually be making money, so you think, well, you know, the grief is worth it. But I wasn't going to make anything out of this deal. I'm just trying to do my friend a favour by sort of handling it for him. But I've ended up just getting an absolute headache from start to finish. So would you have done it? Would you have helped your friend out by selling the car? Next question, would you have refunded this guy's deposit, or would you have gone, let him take it to small claims and gone the distance with it and pushed back? I mean, in my opinion, life is too short. I just can't be bothered with it. But how would you have handled it? Would you have done what I've done? And would you have even let it get this far? I mean, I think most people, if I was watching this video, someone else talking, I would be saying, within the first 5 minutes, I would have shut the door on him and told him, thanks for your time, I'm sorry this car isn't for you, I don't want to deal with you. Because hindsight is 20/20, I'm telling you the full story, but again, anyone out there in the trade knows that you don't know someone's an absolute lunatic until they're in front of you and trying to do a deal. So you can't just shut the door on someone. I mean, if I'd known then what I know now, I wouldn't have responded to the initial inquiry, but hey, there we go, we live and learn. So how would you have handled that situation? Yeah, if anyone wants to buy a low mileage RAV4 with full Toyota service history, I know for one that's available right now. Cheers.